Bible, God's inspired word, says there came a sound from heaven, and that's the sound we need. The truth, present truth that can set you free.
I believe in talking about the will of God. There's someone probably listening today saying, you know what, I believe I'm in the will of God also, Pastor Jerry, but I'm going through one of the biggest trials of my life. My son just walked away from God. In fact, he doesn't want anything to do with this quote-unquote religion that I have. But I'm here to tell you, friends, the darkness that you're walking through today may not be because you're not fearing God and obeying God. It might be because you are fearing God and are obeying God that you're going through a wilderness experience or a dark time of your life. Please, trust in the name of the Lord. Hold steady. Continue to do that which is right. Stay within the confines of the revealed will of God for your life. Don't turn to the right or to the left. Keep straight forward in the Word, and He'll bring you out. I guarantee it. He'll bring you out, and you'll come out with a greater faith than when you went in. And if you remain within the confines of the will of God for your life, a few things I believe will happen. Number one, you'll be sustained. Number two, you'll be a success. What do you mean? You know, success, Pastor, is determined, according to the world, according to some of your buddies. It's determined by how many people you have coming on a Sunday morning, by how much money you bring in the offering, by how much and how big your building is and how much it costs. Let's call it, as one preacher called it, the ABCs of church growth: attendance, buildings, and cash. Oh, that's how you're a success, at least in men's eyes. But you see, this particular narrative of Jesus being in the wilderness and in the will of God tells me something different. It tells me that success is not determined by how many people come to my church, by how big the offerings are, or by how much cash I have on hand. But it's determined by whether or not I'm in the circle of the will of God. It's determined by whether or not I am within the boundary of His will. Friends, you can be in a little church, as they would like to call it, and be in the will of God. One young preacher said something along these lines. He says, if you're too big to be in a little church, then you're too little to be in a big church. I thought that was pretty good. It's not numbers that you determine success by, Pastor. You don't determine the success of your ministry by how many are coming to your church. How do you determine success? By whether or not you are in the will of God. Boy, is that liberating. When that finally hit me one day, I got so excited I just about jumped out of my chair to realize this, that success is determined by whether or not I remain within the confines of the will of God. And if you'll stay within the confines of that will, number one, He'll sustain you. Number two, you'll be a success. Number three, you'll be secure. Did you know that the most secure place for you is the will of God? You know, a lot of preachers, a lot of Christians, a lot of people are insecure, either in their jobs or in their ministries. Why? Well, I think sometimes insecurity is the result of not knowing whether you're in the will of God or not. But if I know I'm in the will of God and someone wants to come and take my position, that's up to God, not me. And if God doesn't want you in that church, if He doesn't want you in that position, why would you want to be there? So the truth of the matter is, friends, if you're in the will of God, that's the most secure place. It is God who sets one up and pulls down another. They wanted to get rid of Moses. Moses says, God, did you hear that? God says, yep, stand back, I'll wipe them out. Friends, until God says otherwise, you're where you're supposed to be. So be secure in Him. And thank you for joining us on A Certain Sound.
For more information, visit us online at acertainsound.com.